KFM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. 93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see lots of sunshine with a light breeze. An afternoon high near 67. Tonight, a chance of showers late, otherwise partly cloudy and a low near 46. And tomorrow, a chance of showers throughout the day, otherwise mostly cloudy with a high near 66. I'm meteorologist Kyle Electric, 93.7 The Ticket, and theticketfm.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
The end of the school year is drawing near, which means graduation parties are coming soon. Are you prepared for hosting? Führer's Cheese Spread is the dip that brings everyone together to celebrate graduations and the close to a great school year. And it goes well with crackers, meats, soups, and more. How could you consider throwing a party without it? Get to your local grocery store today and load up on Führer's Cheese Spread. No graduation party is complete without it.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in, temperature-controlled high-end wine room. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for spirits and cigars. That's Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
This is On the Block with Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer, Jay Foreman. Middle school basketball coaching legend and Duke basketball shooting coach in his mind, Austin Orman. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This is On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
Welcome in. A Tuesday edition of the show. Tuesdays are the short days. We got an hour for you before we turn things over to Nebraska Wrestling and to the Teammates Mentoring Program. This is On the Block, brought to you by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Special ingredient butcher shop with every type of meat and every type of cut. 3 Lincoln locations and 1 up there in Omaha. Let's bring him in. Strick. What's good, partner? How you doing?
Yeah, man, doing well. Just got off some calls that I had to handle and take care of for other parts of some things that I got going on, and got ready to jump on the block. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Yes, you should be, as everyone should be. A couple really good topics to dig into over the course of the next 45, 50 minutes or so. We'll talk some NBA draft early entry numbers, some Nebraska men's basketball conference opponents if we have time, and then also the future of the Milwaukee Bucks as Damian Lillard tears his Achilles. What does the future hold for the future of that organization, and specifically Giannis Antetokounmpo, superstar for Milwaukee? If you got any thoughts, chime in, as always, on our Starter Heyman Jewelers text line 402-464-5685. Well, Strick, I saw this and I thought it was really interesting to dig into. We've talked a lot about the intersection of NIL and college athletics and how it relates to professional futures, how long players are staying in college, specifically college basketball. And I saw this from John Givney, who writes for ESPN. He's at Draft Express on Twitter. His first tweet in the thread was only 106 players entered the 2025 NBA draft per the NBA. That's the lowest number of early entrants since 2015. Lowest mark in a decade, down from a peak of 363 players that entered the NBA draft early in 2021, just before the NIL era officially started. Incredible boon for college basketball to retain so much talent. When you see 106, first of all, that's still a lot of people entering the draft early. There's only a maximum of 60 selections in an NBA draft. It's only 2 rounds long. Teams forfeit picks for tampering sometimes, in free agency especially. But Strick, think about, 5 years ago, 5 drafts ago, there were 6 times the number of early entrants, not total entrants, just early entrants into the NBA draft. 6 times more early entrants than there were picks available. That is horrible, horrendous advice from the agents to tell your client, yeah, be one of these people, throw your name into the mix, see how it goes. I'm glad to see there's at least maybe a little bit of sanity coming back to the NBA draft process, whether it's through NIL or not.
I mean, we've had phases of it. I've got to say, one of the things sometimes that you deal with, and we had some discussions with I was talking with Ryan earlier, Ryan Gerardo, who is the CEO of CerebralSports.com, which is a tremendous tool that a lot of universities are now using. And one of the things that in this transition, Austin, that we're seeing is you get sometimes bad advice, and it's very similar to a situation I had in my career where an agent was giving me bad information, was saying, these teams, and having discussions with that team. Ultimately, he was leading me to opt out of my contract, because he was only able to negotiate a small raise on the contract that my father had already negotiated. And so telling me all of this, giving me misinformation, led to an opt-out. Ultimately, it's dual, but that was definitely part of it. But the other part of it was just how miserable I was, and I wouldn't do it and advocate for doing it that way. If I could rewind the time and jump in my DeLorean and head back to the future and check that out. But that's what's happened in that scenario. Like you said, a lot of people have been given bad information. They didn't have tools like at Cerebral Sports to be able to really have these report cards and sit down, evaluate where you really sit. And like with that tool, I mean, me and Ryan were just talking just a little bit earlier. That was one of the calls I was on. And you can use this comparison tool. So in essence, if you're a sophomore, if you're a junior, you're thinking about jumping into the not transfer portal, but jumping into the draft, entering the draft early. You can basically look at your style of play and take a player and that's in the NBA or that's looking to be in the top 10 of the draft or the lottery of the draft, and you can put them side by side. So you can then assess, where do you really fit? Mm-hmm. If your numbers and your metrics don't measure up to that, it's advisable that you don't jump in there, because guess what? Some of these NBA GMs and organizations are using that tool. So they're seeing, what you just saw, or they're seeing, some things as well to make that assessment. So it's a problem. So I like that, like in the stock market, it gets corrected. Mm-hmm. You take things out, bad money that shouldn't be in the market, and it corrects itself. This is a correction in the sport, I think, because it doesn't pay to jump into the G League. You had OTE Elite. You had one of the other ones as well. They were paying pretty well, but now NIL is paying more than what some of those contracts are looking like. So it doesn't fare well for you to jump out and jump into the draft.
We got some of those numbers from John Givney again. He says, with hundreds of college basketball players making over $1 million per season, far more than a two-way contract, which is valued around $600,000 but non-guaranteed.
Yeah.
It makes sense that so many players are foregoing the NBA draft. Will NCAA salaries end up stabilizing? We'll see. That's just the base level reality, Strick, is that a lot of these guys that are fringe prospects, right? Guys that might go in the first round, but are probably second rounders or maybe leaning the undrafted free agent route. Why would those guys settle for going overseas to a new environment, someplace they're not familiar, in a brand new culture, for less money? Why would they settle for, well, I got to get shuttled back and forth between, Sioux Falls and Miami, right? For the Skyforce and the Heat, for example, right? Or Iowa City and the Twin Cities for the Timberwolves, stuff like that. When they can make a cool mill in college, they are more sought after by college talent evaluators, by college coaches, and that's good for them. They're able to make their money. Let me ask you this.
Wait, Paul, real quick. I want to hit one more point on what you just said before we change the subject. It's a risk.
Big time.
It's a risk because you're risking potential injury. You're risking your number going down. There's risk there, but you're at least going to be able to stack your paper and bank it.
The guy that kind of embodies that risk to me, Strick, is an Omaha kid and Hunter Salas. He lit it up at Wake Forest last year. And if you look at his numbers across the board, they're pretty similar. Slight downturn, didn't shoot it quite as well from three this year, but pretty much everything else is right in line with what it was 2 seasons ago. But now, if instead of being, 55th or 60th on these draft boards, Hunter Salas is down in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. He's the same player he was. But maybe that's the rare example of a guy waited too long, didn't take advantage of his opportunity or his moment. And, I'm sure Hunter Salas will play professional basketball somewhere. But regardless, there's risk. Whether you stay in college, you risk the injury, you risk the performance dip, like you said, or whether you risk the NBA draft. Can I convince a team to draft me? Can I interview well enough and convince someone to take a chance on me, whether it's with a draft pick, or can I at least get invited to their camp? And
am I a dime a dozen? Do I do something? Yeah, there's things that you have to weigh that out. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
It's a risk either way. It absolutely is, which is where you need to do the research. You need to have a trusted circle of advisors, something you've talked about a lot. Have the right people around you with a clear-eyed view of the situation, not worrying about, if you're going to fail or what happens if something goes wrong, but at least keeping it in mind. Because you don't always have the perfect storybook outcome, right? Again, there are only 60 players drafted at a maximum any given year in the NBA draft. To that point, Strick, let's start with the college basketball aspect of this. More and more players are returning to college basketball because of NIL. Do you think that the college basketball getting older and having more players playing more of their seasons of eligibility is improving the product of college basketball?
Obviously, again, it was a huge dip. We're going to assess. I think there's still going to be an assessment period of whether or not this is good or bad, because there's also the factor of some players staying too long and they may get kicked out of the barn because there's someone else that's coming behind you. There's someone else at a mid-major that raised their level. You may not fit the archetype of where we're going. New coaches may come in. So I think there's still another year or two waiting period to be able to really make a good assessment as to whether it's going to make the product better. You would assume that that's the case, because if you look at a lot of the championship teams that have had the privilege of winning, they've had some veteran leaderships to it outside of Duke, which is, Duke broke the mold that had been. They broke the mold of the one and done type players that are there, but they've been one of the where you can have a track record start of what it would look like if your NIL stuff is right, on top of making the right decisions on whom you're going to pay
Mm-hmm.
and doing those deeper assessments in putting those teams together. So there's still some things I think that need to be ironed out in it before we can really make a true judgment.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I mean, 1 year isn't a sample size by any stretch of the imagination. I do think that the more data points are needed, but I will say it does seem like things are trending in that direction. That the older the game of college basketball is getting, maybe the better it's going to get. Because, yeah, you're older, you're experienced, you're more mature. But Strick, the data point I'm going to go back to is one that I referred to a lot over the last, couple months. And that's the final 4 teams that were standing. All 4 1 seeds had like 4 of the highest 10 KenPom ratings in history. This year, 4 of the highest rated teams in history came this year. And for the most part, they were older teams, right? Houston, we know what they like to do. Get old, get nasty, get physical, and stay old. Florida recruited age out of the transfer portal, right? Got some developed older prospects. You look at Auburn with Janai Broom, with Chad Baker-Mazara, with Kelly. They really only had 1, maybe 1.5 freshman contributors. And then, like you said, kind of the outlier to that was Duke. But what did Duke do in the transfer portal? Went and got a grad guy in Mason Gillis and a grad guy in Sion James to help round out the rotation. 2 older prospects who played some really key roles, mixed in with the freshmen. And they brought back Tyrese Proctor, a guy in his 3rd year in Durham. So again,
and they came up short to who? The veteran team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So of course, it's not going to be that way across the board. But I do think that as more and more older prospects return to college basketball, the top of the sport probably will get a little bit better. I wouldn't be surprised to see those KenPom ratings, keep trending up if college basketball continues to get older. But let's flip this around to the NBA draft then.
Pause real quick. One other area that you're going to see is players that may have good abilities at the level that they're at, but they still need to develop something, i.e. your Hunter Dickinson, i.e. your Zach Edey's, guys usually with size or smaller guards. Yeah. Those 3-and-D guys, they're a dime a dozen. Hence is why you see, like you said, Hunter Salas at one point, because there's a bunch of those type of guys that are in that zone, and where you fit, what you did with your team, all of those things I think are going to be important in the decisions as to if you differentiate yourself from others and like mine. So you'll find a lot of those guys staying because they're going to have to, because they don't have NBA is a stretch game. You're going to have to be Jaren Jackson type. You're going to be able to have to stretch it. And if you can't do that, then that's going to possibly give you a little hold, and you might want to stay and develop more range.
On that development front, do you think the NBA likes more guys staying in college longer? Would NBA guys rather have them
always has been that way,
or they prefer them developing in college?
Always been that way, Austin. They really wanted to get away from the draft on potential. They really don't want to do that. They really don't want to do that. Drafting on potential, because there's more risk to the hit or miss in those scenarios, right? Mm-hmm. So you find them really good. That's why they created those aspects of the G League, because it was really a place to get them. That's why they connected to G League, because it was a place where even if they were young enough, you could send them down there to get some of that work. And you're not losing the value, and hopefully they can play themselves into it, or they'll play themselves out. So, or it gives them exposure to other teams. So yeah, man, believe me, they would prefer to have more seasoned guys down there.
To that point, Jonathan Wasserman, who writes about the NBA draft, says something to a similar effect. He says, NIL bringing underclassmen back means more NBA opportunities for seniors who are often overlooked for younger prospects. Seniors taken in the second round in the last few years, dating back to 2020. 5 second-round seniors in 2020, 5 in 2021, only 3 second-round seniors in 2022. But then, Strick, in 2023, there were 9 second-round seniors, essentially 1 in every 3 picks. And then more than 1 in 3, 11 seniors were selected in the second round of the 2024 NBA draft. And then John says lots of good second round senior hits too. We'll see probably a similar number in 2025. I think that goes a long way too, because with the second round pick, on the one hand, that's maybe where you take the upside swing. We don't know what this guy is. We don't know what he's going to be. It's just a second round pick. Teams trade those like none other. On the flip side, if you're going to, spend your first round pick, your premium asset really in the NBA, in the second round, if you can get a rotation piece as a rookie, a 22, 23, 24-year-old who's ready to come in right away and contribute, maybe probably not be a star in the second round. Shoot, even, Jokic and Draymond Green took them a while to find their footings and become the stars that they are. But if you can get a rotation guy in the second round, like an AJ Mitchell, for example, for the Oklahoma City Thunder, like a Ty Jerome for the Cleveland Cavs. I know that's not where he started. A Peyton Pritchard for Boston. I don't remember if he was a late first or a second round type of guy. I think that the seniors that have put in that development work in college and can step in, ready to go in the NBA from day one, those guys have a leg up, and it looks like they're getting even more valuable to NBA teams right now.
Yeah, and on top of that, there's a maturity level. Like there's a level of professionalism that, an older guy that's matured, it's been around, it's a little more seasoned, they're able to come in and kind of fit in a little bit easier because there's an understanding of hierarchy, right? Yes, there's confidence. Yes, I'm trying to knock you off. Yes, I'm trying to beat you and take position and earn time and all that stuff. But there's a maturity that comes with that. I think you look at Zion's draft class and look at how young that draft class was, and then you look at some of the immature things that have happened within that draft class in itself in some of those players. You look at even in last year's draft, how immature that draft was. Some of those guys weren't ready. They weren't ready for, the next level up. So, and then there's another thing to assess as you're about ready to do that before we go to break. You've got to look at the fact that you're making the money that you're making, if you do it on a game-by-game basis, which NBA is paid game by game, and you assess playing 80-plus games to 30-some games, and you're making $1 million on 30 as opposed to 300, 400, 500,000 in 80, the math, I'm doing math on that. I'm chilling. Yeah, I'm hanging out on O Street. I'm down at Barry's. You know what I mean? Shoot, I ain't going nowhere.
You're not going to Barry's, that Coach Nee spot.
Oh yeah, I couldn't go to Barry's. You're right. You know what? You're a smart man. You know everything. That's why you're the resident. That's why you're the resident encyclopedia.
That's what I'm here for. He's Eastrick. I'm Austin. Some good college basketball NBA draft chatter. Let's keep it on the NBA. The Milwaukee Bucks aren't dead yet, but they might be dead men walking. And unfortunately, Dame Lillard probably not walking with his Achilles injury. What does the present hold for the Bucks? But more importantly, if Indiana is able to vanquish them, what does the future hold for the Milwaukee Bucks? We'll get into that. Take your comments and questions on that in our Sartor Heyman Jewelers text line in segment 2 of On the Block.
Follow Austin Strick and On the Block on Twitter at Austin Orman, Eastrick20, and On the Block 93.7. More of On the Block coming up.
Delicious, decadent, scrumptious, delightful. What other words can I use to describe something so tasty? How about heavenly? Chef Bob Haney created heavenly waffles to be incredibly fluffy, packed with protein, and loaded with a plethora of angelic toppings to elevate your experience beyond the typical waffle and syrup. Don't just take our word for it. You can experience heavenly waffles for yourself this Wednesday, April 30th from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. only at the 93.7 The Ticket Studios located at 1040 O Street in Lincoln.
At Fairway Meat Market, you're family. And as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Fairway has fresh cut meats, seafood, cheese, wine, and spirits, and a friendly staff that's always ready to help you find what you need. Stop by Fairway Meat Market today to plan your weekly meals in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see lots of sunshine with a light breeze. An afternoon high near 67. Tonight, a chance of showers late, otherwise partly cloudy and a low near 46. And tomorrow, a chance of showers throughout the day, otherwise mostly cloudy with a high near 66. I'm meteorologist Kyle Electric from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call today at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Right now, when you drive by Honda of Lincoln, you'll see more than 200 new Hondas and over 125 pre-owned vehicles. Hi, Charlie Stone here, and with me on the line is Andy Goodyear of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, how does it feel to have so many vehicles in stock again for your customers?
Charlie, it feels amazing to see how excited our customers are. They love the ability to see, test drive, and take immediate delivery of the exact new Honda they're looking for.
Do you have some good offers to talk about?
We sure do, Charlie. We're offering financing as low as 0.9% APR up to 72 months, or great lease rates on every new Honda. It's the perfect time to drive away in the new Honda you've been dreaming of.
How about pre-owned, Andy?
We have over 125 pre-owned and certified pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Just about every make and model with prices starting at under $10,000.
Maybe it's time you experience the best, the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Are you a fan of local wine, craft beer, cider, or spirits? Don't miss SIP Nebraska's 12th anniversary celebration, May 9th and 10th at Mahoney State Park, and join others who share your passion for great drinks. Enjoy unlimited tastings, live music, delicious food, artisans, and lawn games as you celebrate Nebraska's vibrant beverage industry. And when you find one you love, you can buy a bottle to take home. Choose your ticket package at sipnebraska.com. The SIP Nebraska Spring Festival, a Blur event, May 9th and 10th at Mahoney State Park in Ashland.
Fight fans, May 3rd, Dynasty Combat Sports hosts the first bare-knuckle boxing bout ever at Pinnacle Bank Arena, pitting Lincoln's Tower Robinson against McCook's Thomas Thatcher. Additionally, MMA bouts will see champion Nate Morrow battle Nebraska City's Brett Minner. University of Nebraska wrestler Tyler Berger makes his pro MMA debut, and Hunter Green takes on Husham Zadow for the amateur featherweight title. Also, professionals Brady Minner, Sean Lindgren, Justin Weaver, and the debut of another Nebraska wrestler, Bubba Wilson. 16 fights are scheduled Saturday, May 3rd at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Fight cards subject to change. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com or at the Pinnacle Bank Arena box office.
Make plans to join 93.7 The Ticket and the Amon Green Foundation for the first annual Nebraska Esports Golf Tournament on Monday, June 9th at Wilderness Ridge. It's a 4-man scramble starting at 11 a.m. that will feature former Husker greats, including Amon Green, Johnny Rogers, Niles Paul, Tony Davis, Adam Carricker, Vershawn Jackson, and more, with great prizes and great golf. Sponsorships are also available. Email jake@theticketfm.com for more questions or sign your team up online at theticketfm.com. Early bird registration goes through April 20th, and overall registration goes through May 30th.
Nebco is hiring CDL drivers for ready-mixed concrete in Lincoln. With 3 plants across the city, there are plenty of opportunities to start or grow your driving career. They offer great pay, medical and retirement benefits, paid time off, and they cover the cost of CDL training. Apply today and receive a $2,500 hiring bonus. Since 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today with ready-mixed concrete. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's nebcoinc.com.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Now back to On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jade Foreman, and Austin Orman.
Rolling right along here during On the Block, brought to you by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, special ingredient butcher shop, all that great stuff. This segment brought to you by Heartland of Nebraska Windows. Check them out online, Heartland of Nebraska Windows. Free estimate, full window replacements, all vinyl triple pane windows, and a lifetime warranty on everything. Stricky, we're going to start with the Cleveland Cavaliers making some history against the Miami Heat. The Inside the NBA crew said they don't want to say a team was quitting, but it kind of seems like the Heat were quitting on this series. Cleveland puts up an offensive rating of 136.7 points per 100 possessions, best in a playoff series in league history. They win the series with a plus 122 point differential, also the greatest in NBA history, regardless of round of the playoffs. That is the context for our discussion about the Milwaukee Bucks, who finished third in their own division. They get the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs, and Dame Lillard's down. Stricky, it's a problem, man.
1, 2, 3 Bahamas. That's what Miami was saying. Bahamas. They was ready to get on the boat and go across the channel. That's how they was feeling about it. Because now here's the thing with that. I know we're going into Milwaukee, and I know we ain't got a whole bunch of time, and I'm gonna, but I really want to talk about this part of it. That shows you how important Jimmy Butler was to that team. He was their dog. Like, he was their guy that can hunt. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they didn't have that, and hence you have lackluster, showing in the playoffs.
Tyler Hero was not him
at all,
in the slightest.
They should have probably traded him. And then as we move on, there's going to be some discussions that we can get into, because Milwaukee, they got an uphill climb, like they're climbing Mount Everest right now.
That's just the thing. So Cleveland ends up with the best record in the East with 64 wins against just 18 losses. Indiana has a second half surge. They get to 50 wins. Milwaukee won 48 games. A few games behind them was Detroit at 44. And then the Bulls qualified for the play-in. So pretty tough division, top to bottom in the NBA Central. But Strick, here's where it gets murky for the Bucks. So Dame Lillard, 34, just tore his Achilles. Not an easy injury to come back from at any age, let alone, playing the guard position at Dame's age at 34, going to be 35, maybe 36 by the time he sees the court. Milwaukee does not have its first-round pick in the upcoming NBA draft. It doesn't have any first-round pick in the 2027 or 29 NBA draft. Milwaukee has pick swaps that it sent out in trades for 26, 28, and 30 in the first round. Milwaukee will get the least favorable of all of those. The next time the Milwaukee Bucks, barring a trade, will pick in the first round is 2031. 6 years from now, 7 drafts from now, is the next time without a trade Milwaukee could pick there. Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Gary Trent Jr., Taurean Prince, Kevin Porter Jr., Ryan Rollins are free agents at the end of this year. I guess they could trade Kyle Kuzma, but he's not exactly upping his trade value right now. And the 3 guys that they've drafted recently, Tyler Smith, Chris Livingston, and Andre Jackson Jr., this year, Strick, they combined for, let me do my math, 7.7 points per game. Milwaukee is in trouble, my boy. Capital T, trouble.
Yeah, as Bernie Mac would say in one of the movies, it's gonna be trouble. Big time trouble. And 1, you're not already a destination. 2, you kind of you lived off of the championship run, and you've created in the NBA a form of what the Dallas Cowboys have done. Keep guys too long. I thought they kept Middleton too long.
But then did him dirty, trade him to Washington.
Right. They kept him too long. Portis is solid, but but you signed him to a good deal. Brook Lopez, you understand you're trying to maybe keep a big that can stretch. But they didn't really leverage anybody that's on their team. And a lot of it was role play guys that you surrounded around Giannis. You bring in Dame way too late, for any time probably to take in Dame in his usage and handle and need to do that now with the injury. You're gonna have to revamp, my boy. And that's gonna, like you said, Kuzma's not gonna move the needle. He's not gonna do it. There's nobody on that team that's gonna do it. You're going to have to move Giannis. And it's unfortunate, but I can promise, and let me allege it. I can't say for sure because I'm not in his head like the movie. What's the movie? The little cartoon where they playing in the brain of the person. There's a bunch of emotions. Inside Out. There's a bunch of emotions. I'm not that. I'm not in there, so I can't tell you what that looks like. But I can say that I'm sure he will move at this point. Don't do him bad though. Don't do him dirt. Leverage. Don't do a Luka move, but leverage what you can to get back. He's probably one of the players right now outside of him, maybe even Jokic, that can command. Steph probably command not the full amount, but he can. Shea is definitely probably numero uno. Shea probably, then Giannis, and then you can work down the line on that. But I'm going to tell you, he's probably the only one that's going to flip that script of what it looks like right now. Take some of those pick swaps that look bad for you, make those better, even if you need to throw one or two of them in there to enhance the deal a little bit. But it's going to look ugly for you. And I would start now because it's not going to get better in the East, especially with Cleveland being good and young. Detroit has emerged with a good portion of their core. Indiana is hanging around, teetering right there, but their style of play makes them, good. We see Atlanta starting to make a move. We see there's one other team. Orlando's, yeah, they're in need of making a move. So a lot of East teams are going to start making moves. If I'm you, I've got probably the best player that can get me something. I'd start throwing out there, and I'd start having contacts with Giannis on it. And I wouldn't let Giannis limit me, similar to what Dame was doing for such a long time up in Portland, by limiting that scope and narrowing that focus to Miami until, it pretty much you try to do the best you can in sending them out to Milwaukee. They need to revamp. You're going to have to take your losses now. You're going to have to get young. You're going to have to draft better because they missed on 3. So now at this point, you're going to have to use your best tool to get it.
They missed on more than 3. John Horst, the GM of the Bucks, just recently signed a contract extension. And to his credit, Milwaukee's been pretty good his entire time in charge. This year was the second fewest wins. They won 44 games his first year. 60, 56, 46, 51, 58, 49, and 48. 46 came the season that the start of the year was shortened by COVID, of course. So the records are pretty good. But Stricky, I'm glad that you brought up the Cowboys. It's similar but different, right? Cowboys are big money, big market. They're throwing money at the problem, trying to bring guys in and solve it. Milwaukee's doing almost the opposite. They have so much of their cap tied up right now into Giannis and Dame. Kuzma's taken up a chunk as well. They renegotiated with Lopez. Obviously, Middleton was taking up a pretty penny of that as well. But let's just go back through John Horst and his tenure, right? So the 2017 NBA draft through now for the Milwaukee Bucks. Stop me when you hear a good player. DJ Wilson, Sindarius Thornwell, Dante DiVincenzo, who they let walk, Kevin Porter.
Should have kept him.
Yep. RJ Hampton, Jordan Nwora, Isaiah Todd.
Dang, RJ Hampton's fallen off. He disappeared
Never
off the
did
scene.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
never did a dang thing in the NBA.
He got a chance. He got opportunities too. He just fell off. Okay, go ahead.
Isaiah Todd, Marjon Beauchamp, Chris Livingston, AJ Johnson, Tyler Smith. There's nothing there, my boy.
Nothing.
Do you really trust John Horst to make the decisions then? He has to trade Giannis, but do you trust him to maximize it? No. And he just
I plead the fifth.
Dude.
I plead the fifth on that, man. And, Milwaukee was one of the better places I played at. I hate to see that. But yeah, it's shameful. And even more, the ownership group just extended that tyranny of reign.
Let's go to our text line here, Stricky, because let's say Giannis does end up getting moved. Let's see what the text line has to say. Then we'll hear from you. Your thoughts on where you think Giannis could fit. Brad says Giannis goes to Los Angeles. Bucks go back to the lottery. Do you see either Los Angeles team as a fit for Giannis Antetokounmpo?
The only way Giannis, I think, could go to LA, and that would be a fine thing. You're gonna have to let LeBron walk. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to let LeBron walk. I think they've got enough around a Luka. I think that makes Luka very. It gives him a lob guy if he wants to, but Giannis is very versatile. Back to the basket, stretch, and run the floor, and can handle in some situations. That's a combination that would be fine. But you would have to let LeBron walk with that big salary, and then you're basically gonna have to say that those two are gonna be my big money guys, because you've got Reeves at a good deal, Vincent's nothing, Hachimura solid. None of their contracts are anything that you can't get anywhere or even go into the draft. The key is going to be is, if you're going to do something like that, how would Giannis fare with the coaching style of JJ Redick? I think JJ right now is I don't even think it's the play of the Lakers that have cost him in at least two of those games. I actually think it was probably a coaching issue in a couple of those games. It's a lot easier to do it, and even for myself, it's a lot easier for me to sit here and talk about it and talk strategy than it is to be sitting on that sideline, drawing up plays, coming up with strategy, making adjustments. And there's things I think about, but whether they would work or whether they wouldn't, I can't say, because I don't have like that old PC game, The Sims, where I can simulate, it all happening, and you kind of play those games out, whether it be football, Madden, college, or NBA 2025 or whatever they call it, 2K. I don't really play those ones, but that's it's a whole different game when you're sitting there on the sideline.
Giannis to Chicago to become a Bull.
Tough move. They're a little bit farther away. If I'm Giannis, I'm in the latter part of my career. I'm trying to get somebody that has me on the verge of doing something. You can't see Cleveland doing that. They've done a pretty good job, they feel, on how they've constructed their teams. You can't really see New York doing that. You could maybe moving Cat and switching him out potentially. Cat, maybe Bridges. Milwaukee may be interested in something like that. I think that helps. That opens things up and makes it good for Brunson and the other guys. Odunobi, good defensive guys. They're long. They like defense. Giannis, pretty solid defensively, will block some shots and do some things. Maybe there would be a place out west.
Someone says, before you get out west, Stricky, a texter says, let's bring back Robinson Duncan for the new age. Giannis and Wemby in San Antonio.
Ooh, that would be scary, bro.
That
would be scary. And if San Antonio wants to make a run, they could pull that probably off. I don't know what young talent. I have to look at their roster and see what they would be able to do, because you got to think about it. Giannis's contract is still big. So You know, I don't know if I don't know if Milwaukee, I mean not Milwaukee, but San Antonio has something that's a measurable contract. And they don't like to unload a lot of young draftable talent. They like to acquire them, keep them. Now, here's the thing. Somebody that's up in the northern region, you could do a lot of things with OKC. Like if OKC comes up short this year, I would look at something like that. Like I would throw them because that's what they're looking for. They got a lot of them.
Yeah,
they looking for drafts. So okay, we can throw a lot. We can throw some drafts your way. We shoot to get young. We right there. We already was number 1, 2 team in the league. We get him by just some drafts and Chet and maybe one other role player. Man, please. Milwaukee would probably jump at something like that because guess what? It ain't in the East, so it isn't going to hinder them from that. It's in the West, so you don't have to worry about Giannis coming and beating your head in for the next 3 years or so. But yeah,
I got one more idea for you, Stricky. New Orleans. Build the team around Giannis that they wanted around Zion.
He probably, yeah, but he's probably not going to want to do that. He's not going to want to go to a rebuild situation.
It would be a rebuild. The team's ready to go. They just need Zion healthy and consistent. Put Giannis in there instead of Zion. I feel like that team's a playoff team.
I don't know, man. I'm still not sold, but I can see where you got there. I'm just not sold on the Pelicans being not in the West. But one would be scary, and I think it could happen. I don't know what their draft capital because your boy Booth messed up a lot of stuff there. But definitely Denver with him and and Denver would like to make a move because it would take pressure off of Jokic. He can point forward. Giannis can point forward. You can he wants to shine kind of on his own time. So send Porter Jr. up there with a good salary. I don't know what other capital they got. Maybe Porter, maybe Braun to get a couple players and maybe a couple of assets. Because I think and the coach is going to determine also what that's going to look like. But I think Denver's in a win now mode. They want to really keep Jokic happy. Yeah, they don't want to lose him. You move Gordon too. If you're going to bring in Giannis, you got to move Gordon. So Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. with maybe an asset or two, you know that might be interesting. But again, Milwaukee's probably going to want definitely someone that has some assets, and whoever's got that, I can't. I know OKC's got them. I'm trying to think of who else. There's a couple other teams that definitely have got assets. I just can't think of it offhand.
The last one from the text line, I'm surprised this wasn't our resident fan on the text line. You sent this team in. This is from Westy. Is Orlando outlandish? Pair Paulo and Giannis. Probably have to give up Franz. But if you're Orlando, do you try to take that swing?
If you can play Paulo at the 3, I don't like Giannis playing 5. I don't like him playing 5. So you know, if you had a 5, I would say since you got young talent, a good center who has I would say if I'm not happy with what's going on right now with Houston and how they've fallen apart, you can go one or two ways with Houston. One, you could say we're right there on the verge. We look like OKC the year before. Let's stay together and run it back. You can look at that. Or you could say we're not really happy with everything. I like Thompson, Eason paired up. Maybe we send Jalen Green with a high salary, a couple of assets, but we keep Şengün. But send maybe a couple of those players. Even if you send, Thompson and Green, you've got VanVleet, so you want to keep your point guard.
Yeah.
It'll make him more traditional. It'll take that. Yeah. It just depends on how it would be orchestrated.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I could see that being a dope move. Definitely.
For everyone, for both teams, for the NBA, I think that could have some legs. Stricky, appreciate
Big market too. Big market too.
Right? I feel you. Thanks for hopping on, Stricky. We'll see you tomorrow.
Well, all right, man. What's up?
Short one to wrap up on the block in a sec.
Download our app by searching for 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day wherever you are. More of On the Block next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Garage doors can break down or quit working at the worst times. At Doors Plus, they understand that a broken garage door sometimes means repair and not replace. Sometimes, all you need to make your door like new again is a few bolts, a realignment, or even a new balance. Trust the pros at Doors Plus to handle your garage door repair the right way so you can get on with your busy schedule. Visit them online at DoorsPlusLLC.com or give them a call today at 402-590-5800. Doors Plus. Garage doors and more.
Yesterday, your water heater worked just fine. Today, surprise! When you're out of hot water, just call the plumbers at Bryant. In most cases, you can get same-day water heater replacement. What you won't get is a costly surprise with the bill. At Bryant, the price you're quoted is the price you'll pay. No last-minute extras for piping or ventilation alterations. Need a new water heater? Just call Bryant, 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Hey, what are you talking about over there?
Huh?
I said, what are you talking about?
You know, Bill, I think it's time for both of us to get our hearing checked. We should head over to Christensen Hearing Analytics.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about them. They offer a free hearing consultation and screening, affordable hearing aid prices, and a knowledgeable staff with over 30 years of experience.
Visit Christensen Hearing Analytics today in Williamsburg Village or give them a call at 402-489-3450. Christensen Hearing Analytics. A better life starts with better hearing.
Are you a fan of local wine, craft beer, cider, or spirits? Don't miss SIP Nebraska's 12th anniversary celebration, May 9th and 10th at Mahoney State Park, and join others who share your passion for great drinks. Enjoy unlimited tastings, live music, delicious food, artisans, and lawn games as you celebrate Nebraska's vibrant beverage industry. And when you find one you love, you can buy a bottle to take home. Choose your ticket package at sipnebraska.com. The SIP Nebraska Spring Festival, a Blur event, May 9th and 10th at Mahoney State Park in Ashland.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Big Brothers Big Sisters is bringing back Bowl for Kids' Sake. Create a team, raise donations, and join the bowling celebration at Sun Valley Lanes and Games on May 2nd. Every contribution helps to create and support one-to-one mentoring relationships for Lincoln's young people. Learn more and register today at bbbsmidlands.org under the Events tab. Big Brothers Big Sisters, igniting the power and promise of Lincoln's youth for over 50 years.
Cinco de Mayo is May 5th, but the party starts early this year at Tipsy Tina's Taco Cantina with their street festival on Saturday, May 3rd. Come down to 8th and Q starting at 1 p.m. on May 3rd and see llamas from Sweet and Sassy's Llama Farm until 4 p.m. and enjoy face painting and balloon animals with Miss Shades at 2 p.m. DJ Wyatt will entertain from 6 to 10:30 p.m. There will be drinks, food, and giveaways, and best of all, no cover charge. It's the early Cinco de Mayo Street Festival with Tipsy Tina's Taco Cantina, Saturday, May 3rd, beginning at 1 p.m. at 8th and Q in the Haymarket.
Now back to On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
Short segment here. We'll get you set up for Takedown Tuesday and Teammates Timeout. Got a special former Husker guest in the building for Teammates Timeout at 5. I'm Austin Orman, not the special Husker football guest coming in for Teammates Timeout. Let's give you a rundown on the Nebraska Men's Basketball Conference opponents list for the 2025-26 season. The teams that Nebraska will play twice. Illinois and Balkan Brad Undervich's I literally made the joke. Brad Underwood's Army of Itches -IC''S. Brad Underwood has been hitting the Balkans pretty hard. Got a lot of them in Nebraska. Will go to Champaign as well as host the Illini in Lincoln. Nebraska will go to Iowa City and host Iowa both in 2025-26. And then the other double play will be Northwestern. At home, the single plays at home, Maryland, Michigan State, Oregon, Penn State, Purdue, Wisconsin, and Washington. All in all, that works out pretty well for Nebraska. They avoid trips to the Breslin Center, to Mackey Arena, and to the Kohl Center. That is phenomenal if you're in Nebraska. The teams that Nebraska will only play once, and it's on the road. It'll be Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, Rutgers, UCLA, and USC. So all in all, y'all, not a bad schedule for the Huskers, right? I mean, going to Assembly Hall, Nebraska's had some success there. Chrysler Center has not been kind to Nebraska. The Barn, hit or miss. Ohio State, not exactly intimidating. Rutgers at the rack. Really curious to see how Steve Peichel retools. And then Nebraska has both games out in LA, so Huskers will make their appearance at Pauley Pavilion. That'll certainly be one to watch. That'll be an interesting one. But really, I think this works out really well for a team like Nebraska attempting to get back to the NCAA tournament. The double plays of Illinois, Iowa, and Northwestern should hold some value for the Huskers, and plenty of good opportunities at home. Thanks to everyone who chimed in here on the block on our Starter Heyman Jewelers text line and on stream. Big thanks to them for their sponsorship. Thanks to the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, special ingredient butcher shop. They've got 3 Lincoln locations and 1 up in Omaha. Don't go anywhere. Ticket Tuesdays that continue. We got Takedown Tuesday with Husker Wrestling and Teammates Timeout coming your way momentarily.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Constructors is now hiring for all positions, with pay starting at $23 and up based on experience. Constructors has immediate job openings for mechanics.